This is the birth site of North Pole explorer Rajan in 1984, and this is the birth site of the same explorer, Tuesday, in 1989. This is the famous data that shows that the birth of North Pole explorer is moving away from the surface of the Earth. Every year, the position of the North Pole is officially recorded by the official scientific records. Now, to stop this Arctic sea ice from melting, there is a Dutch startup called Arctic Reflection, whose scientists are working on such a mega project launch, which could be as significant as Mars colonization according to 15.5 million square kilometers, or such a vast area in which the whole of India could fit. They are planning to refreeze such a huge area within a deadline of just 6 years. And for this, they are planning to bring a paramedical team to the North Pole. Let me introduce you to Tadsei background, also known as Namkeen Pani traditionalist cold as Brian. They spray it to stop the ice from melting rapidly in the normally cold Arctic regions. Because when snow falls, it immediately melts on contact with this brine. The same way typical ice melts. Is this how scientists are able to refreeze the Arctic ice? Well, this is a very fascinating concept in itself. I will tell you more about this in detail later. For now, let's see how this project works on a small scale. This project is going to be massive. Here, we are not just freezing the surface in the Himalayan region, but also the glaciers. The real trouble and fatalities begin when the ice starts melting sporadically. And there, scientists are literally trying to freeze the entire region. So the question arises here. Why are people so determined to carry out such a massive and seemingly impossible project? Is this happening anywhere else in the world besides Antarctica? If so, why is it only being discussed here, right? Right? And well, this is where we all make a mistake. When I said, these scientists have put the deadline for the next 6 years in front of us. But actually, this deadline is not decided by them. Rather, this deadline is decided for us by nature itself. Why? According to most recent estimates, in the next 6 years, more specifically by September 2030, we will see for the first time such a summer in which the Arctic sea ice will have completely melted. And you know what's worse? And if that happens? National Aeronautics and Space Administration scientist Christina Pristone says that in the coming years, the more carbon dioxide we emit, the more the temperature will rise, and after a certain point, the temperature will increase rapidly in a sudden jump. She says this is officially satellite imaging patterns that show the record on your screen. Now, you will remember this year's heat. The previous record was broken. According to March, it was already all over India to hospitalize heat stroke patients, in which even 56 people I know personally suffered because of this heat. This effect was not limited to India alone. Similar trends were seen in other countries as well, from Thailand to 14. In fact, from 2014 to 2023, this has been the hottest decade in our recorded history. Before this, the year 2016 was recorded as the hottest year ever.
What matters is not just the heat itself, but how it's impacting our lives beyond simply feeling hot.
Also, there are some coastal cities and villages in the world that are sinking under the sea, like Indonesia. Look at these villages. These villages are on the northern coast of Java Island in Indonesia. There used to be completely dry land just a few years ago. But today, the situation is such that children have to take boats to go to school, and mothers use tires to get home after work. Then, along with Semgatna, Thailand's capital city Bangkok, the same thing is happening. The poles you see in the middle of the sea are actually electricity poles, because there used to be a village there a few decades ago. In the world, there are many such cities and towns, like the submerged city of Netherlands, the famous Venice of Italy, New Orleans in the United States of America, Ilake in Virginia Beach, Lagos in Nigeria, the capital Dhaka of Bangladesh, and last but not least, even our own financial capital Mumbai. These are all places where the sea level is rising rapidly, and these cities could soon be submerged. And after the complete melting of the Arctic ice, we may see many more such places where electricity poles and other structures are left standing in the water, reminding us of what once existed there. That means saving the Arctic sea ice is our responsibility, or it should become our top priority. And if we don't do something soon, then this very planet we are living on will also become unlivable for life. So why are the scientists of Arctic Reflections trying to stop this, and how are they doing it? Now, Indian scientists want to refreeze the melting Arctic sea ice in the Arctic region. They are very interested in this because before putting the discs in, they want to know if there is a root problem behind it or not. Because of global warming, sunlight is becoming more intense and the heat is increasing. Because of this, I'm also feeling quite restless personally. You will also feel it, you will definitely feel it. And now let's jump back to the topic and discuss. What were scientists trying to understand when India grew, and in Africa, why can't we refreeze the Arctic region's ice again? As Mars colonization advances, here's an update on the current state of the mega project. Arctic scientists discover innovative approach to study reflections. With this, we can gradually reduce loss and refreeze Arctic ice. This strategy is quite effective. It is being said that Ivan United Nations has taken the lead in this work and has started the Arctic Sea Ice Restoration Project. Actually, the Svalbard archipelago is located near the North Pole and is under Norwegian jurisdiction. It is one of the fastest warming places on the planet. Year after year, even compared to our previous average temperature, it is warming 3 times faster. So, the Arctic reflections. What is happening here? They brought a Svalbard pump here to spray water on the floating diesel, and with the help of that pump, artificial Arctic snow was created here. They sprayed water on top of the snow to make a layer above the ice, so that they could create an extra layer of artificially frozen water on top of the old existing ice. Basically, you would see a show on the History television channel where a cold ice road trucker would drive trucks loaded with goods for Canada and Alaska on frozen rivers and lakes. In the film, you would see big trailers running on thick ice. Similarly, they wanted to create frozen rivers there. They also use the same technique every year to freeze the rivers. But here, there is a catch. If you remember, I had mentioned in the beginning that this place is located in the desert. If you sprinkle salt on roads before snow falls, the snow does not accumulate on the roads. So, won't the plan of Arctic reflections backfire if we try to refreeze the Arctic and it doesn't melt anymore? Well, this doubt is totally valid. And that's why fresh water is pumped on top in Canada and Alaska again and again. Brian Yane is capable. In the Arctic, salt water can be made drinkable. Because even on that, salt water can also work as fresh water. Let me explain you how. So when we mix salt or ions in water, their sodium and chloride ions break the H2O molecules in water by forming a hydrogen bond. Now, what are these hydrogen bonds? They are the ones that keep the water molecules together and freeze them. So naturally, adding salt to water lowers its freezing point. And that's the reason why freshwater freezes at 0 degrees Celsius, while on the other hand, on an average, around -degrees Celsius, seawater freezes. So, in the Arctic, how do they distinguish between salt water and freshwater? Is it just simple freshwater or seawater? The temperature of the Arctic is -40 degrees Celsius. Even then, only 2 layers freeze, and on the surface there, pure seawater will not melt Arctic ice. Plus, there are other benefits to this as well. You can see the reflection of the Arctic water on the surface. It's so portable, yet it's so powerful. Fitting those pumps all over the Arctic ice is comparatively much easier than covering the entire Arctic with reflective glass beads or white fabric. To reflect sunlight, like previous studies suggested, or to reflect the Arctic, this is definitely worth considering. That if these pumps are installed, will they actually fill up with fuel? Carbon dioxide emissions also contribute to periodic ice melting, and for this reason, after the initial trials, North Pole wind farms are being installed so that these pumps can run on green energy. But friends, as I mentioned, even global environmental initiatives sometimes end up being criticized as greenwashing. This could unintentionally harm the ecosystem or even further downplay its threat.
Let me tell you, folks, about global warming, don't worry about it.
Some people still believe today, and you also say, someone will say that global warming is just a hoax. Our own natural ice ages and warm phases keep happening in different places. Human beings have no contribution in disturbing the natural cycles. So well, what's the truth behind these things? What does science say? To answer this, let's first understand when this question actually started being asked, and then try to make sense of it yourself. Look, when we first recorded global temperature data in the late 1800s, the average global temperature was about 3 degrees Celsius lower than it is now. But after that, when Europeans started building industries, constructing and making motor engines, the average temperature of the Earth, rose by 0.6 degrees Fahrenheit per decade, accelerating after 1982 due to industrialization and technology. When countries like China, Japan, and South Korea also started growing rapidly, now the average global temperature is increasing by 0.2 degrees Celsius every 10 years. That means it started increasing 3 times faster. Now, there are some major loopholes here, or you can say there are some hidden flaws. Today's global average temperature is 15.1 degrees Celsius according to the 15.08 degrees Celsius. So some people think that the pre-industrial era was cooler. And secondly, even if you take it from 1850, the surface temperature has already risen by about 1.5 degrees Celsius, which doesn't seem like such a big jump in the long run. But when people try to understand the seriousness of the situation and compare global warming to a fever or a hypothermia situation, they don't realize that even a small average global temperature, they liken Earth's temperature to a human fever, not realizing that even minor changes in average temperature can have severe repercussions. So if this average is increasing by even 1 degree, then this means that the temperature on the hot side is increasing beyond a very narrow margin. Plus, our Earth, a complicated ecosystem in which many complex systems coexist, working together for the well-being of our city and to keep everything in harmony. Proper balance of temperature is absolutely necessary. Just as the hypothalamus maintains our body temperature, the surrounding green cover and water bodies regulate our city's temperature. If the temperature increases by even 1 degree, we start feeling feverish. And this is a sign that something is wrong in the body. When this increases by even 1 degree, Refreezing. Even in this case, the same thing happens. And let me prove this to you how it happens in one case. Let's understand this with the help of a diagram and next time. Next, you should never think that global warming is a hoax. In fact, we have to stop saying such things. Look, every time we compare our Earth with 342 watts per meter square, we get the same amount of energy. White clouds, snow, ice, and reflective surfaces reflect about 100 watts per square meter of energy. They reflect it back. And that's how our global average balance is maintained. Now, the problem here is that the greenhouse gases absorb a total of 2.6 units of solar energy extra than usual. Technically, 1.1% more energy is being absorbed, which may seem small, but is actually significant. If energy absorption increases, then total energy absorption increases because global warming increases. Everything is first polarized. So the natural white snow won't remain, it will reflect less. The sunlight. So if the sunlight isn't reflected, then the surface will start to evaporate and it will start to heat up, which is also a greenhouse gas. Plus, our polar ice caps also play a role in keeping methane trapped in the ground in the polar regions. Now, the news is also coming out that if the Antarctic permafrost melts further, it will release at least 2,310 tons of methane into the atmosphere every year. And methane, again, is a deadly greenhouse gas that will create more global warming, which will melt more ice caps, release more trapped greenhouse gases, and this perpetual cycle will keep going on. After this, when the oceans heat up, carbon dioxide also doesn't dissolve in them as much. It means that the Netherlands will start to flood in the atmosphere. This further exacerbates global warming. Finally, the Data Act mechanism is a potential trigger. When the heat increases, permafrost melts in various places, and from that, forest fires are triggered. This releases even more greenhouse gases, and the temperature and destruction both keep increasing. So now, how does this affect the lives of humans? Examine this data showing the energy absorption of the 2.6 units. Greenhouse gases play the most crucial role in this, especially carbon dioxide. And guess what? After the industrial age, it was found that as soon as industrialization began in the world, the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere started increasing drastically. And this is official data. Those who directly extract practical natural processes from Indian traditions by combining science with tradition focus on volcanic eruptions. So they say that when industrialization happened in 1980, what happened then? Did natural disasters such as volcanic eruptions increase after that point? Isn't it possible that this is just a big coincidence? And if that's true, then maybe there is some correlation between these natural activities and human activities. And in that, these scientists' mega initiative to refreeze Arctic life savings seems quite relevant. If you haven't seen these videos, be sure to watch them. You'll certainly learn something new, as always. Share this video as much as possible with your friends and family members so they can become aware and take steps to reduce pollution and greenhouse gases at their level.